The scariest part about having your first out-of-body experience is the realization that you have been lied to your whole life about the earth, what you are, your capabilities, and what you're doing on the earth. The good thing you get out of it is that you realize that you are eternal and you will never truly die. You realize with absolute certainty that you are far more than your physical form. This recognition transforms your life because you carry this living awareness that you are eternal. Death loses its power over you. You take bold steps because you understand that nothing can truly end you, and nothing can use the fear of death to control you. Human beings fear the unknown because ignorance creates a shadow. Any fear you hold in your life arises from a gap in understanding a specific dimension of reality or field of knowledge. The only knowledge that truly matters is the knowledge of yourself, because the knowledge of yourself can be carried on eternally. The Matrix is designed to keep you trapped in rabbit holes and certain conspiracy theories and useless information to never actually discover your true capabilities and the power of consciousness. The mark of the beast 666 is closer than you think, and it's actually quite scary when you realize what it actually is. Now, it's a code that must be broken down, and I have broken this code down, so let me show you what this is. The number 6 represents the cube, because the cube has 6 sides, and everything in the physical dimension has 6 sides: up, down, backwards, forwards, left and right. Your body is a cube. It's the physical world, the simulation, matter. Now the number 3, because there are 3 6s, represents the 3 expressions of consciousness. Consciousness thinks, it feels, it acts. It's mental, it's emotional, it's physical. Consciousness creates in the material world 6 through 3 ways. When your consciousness thinks, feels, and acts only towards the 6, the cube, the physical world, that is the mark of the beast. When you give all of your power, your thought, emotion, and action only to materialism, which locks your consciousness in chasing material validation, pleasures, and things of the world. That disconnects you from spirituality. 666 is when your consciousness is only giving power to the material things, cutting off your spirituality, leaving no room for true connection with the divine and your higher self. That is what 666 truly is. You become the mark of the beast by feeding the animal within your mind. The story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is the beginning of your incarnation, not the beginning of creation. Sit down and take some pen and paper because this is about to go deep. The Garden of Eden represents the state you were in when you were first created and born into this world. You had no personal identity. You had no ego. You did not suppress aspects of yourself to fit in with society. You weren't scared of other people judging you. As a child, you were unified with yourself. You did not care about anything else judging you. You saw your parents as an extension of you. You were unified with your parents, your family, and nature. You were in a state of unification. But as you grew older, you left the Garden of Eden. As your consciousness grew, it began to fracture. The brain developed, and ego began to form. The right hemisphere of the brain, which sees holistically and intuitively, was dominant in childhood. As you imagined things, you were very creative, and you were very holistic as a child. The left brain started to develop and started to take over as you grew older, because the left brain starts to become self-aware. Now this is where Eve, the feminine, the right hemisphere, eats the apple. She eats the apple because eating is a symbol of destruction and transformation. The left hemisphere starts to take over and transform how your mind functions. And this is why when they eat the apple, they realize they are naked in the Garden of Eden, which is symbolic of becoming self-conscious. As you grow older, you become self-aware that you have your own personal identity, your own life, your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. And as you become self-aware of yourself and society, you start to suppress aspects of yourself to fit in with the rest of society. You become scared of other people judging you, which means your consciousness fractures. You are no longer unified with your internal world. You start to wear a mask to fit in, to protect yourself from being judged and to fit in with society. This is the psychological fall from Eden. You fall, your mind fractures as you grow older. This is the story of leaving the Garden of Eden. It is a process from going from unity into divided consciousness as your brain develops. Our goal now is to unify again with our true inner child. Becomes conscious of the subconscious by going deep within yourself, meditating, going deep within yourself. You gain higher insight. Your conscious mind becomes conscious of the subconscious memories. This is why these are tools, because these are your tools in life. The feminine tool, the compass, is the subconscious mind, and it's on top of the square, symbolizing the subconscious mind giving orders to the conscious mind, creating your reality. You need to actively program your subconscious mind to gain mastery over your reality, because your conscious mind is taking orders. You just have to make sure that the programs in the subconscious are the correct orders you want for your life. So the Book of Symbolism I wrote pretty much goes over every single occult symbol that you could possibly imagine, explaining everything into great depth. When death comes, the only thing that truly matters is the level of consciousness that you have attained and the degree of self-mastery you have cultivated. Mastery of the soul is the only thing that counts in the end. If you leave this life without self-mastery, you will return to the physical cycle and repeat the lessons of existence until they are learned. But if you evolve and transform, you pass onward to greater cycles of consciousness. These are the two paths, the path of ignorance or the path of seeking. If you die with desire for the physical things, then your desire will manifest you back into the physical plane. But if you free yourself of desire for physical things and fleshly pleasures and place your desires on the spiritual things, and you do not have a heavy heart when you die, you will not recycle back into the physical plane, and you will ascend to a higher level of consciousness which matches your level of desire and thought. If you want to have an out-of-body experience, then follow the instructions that Stranger Things is giving you. The reason why 11 goes into a salt water bath, because this is just one method to dissolve the senses of the nervous system. When you dissolve the body and no longer feel the body by remaining very still, and you dissolve the mind, you enter a trance. You know that moment just before you drift off to sleep? You're half awake and half asleep. This is what you call a trance, and when you dissolve the mind and body, you connect with pure awareness, and this allows you to have an outer-body experience, a lucid dream, or even astral projection into an astral realm. The reason why the elites are the elites and rule over the masses is because they understand this one thing: human consciousness. If you play Grand Theft Auto and you do not understand the buttons and the controller to play Grand Theft Auto, you will not get the best cars, all the money, and the penthouse. If you don't understand the buttons, you can't play the game. If you want to win the game of life, you have to understand the buttons, and the buttons to control reality is consciousness, the occult. The elites understand human consciousness to the T, and this is why they use this knowledge against people who do not understand this information. If you do not understand your mind and someone else does, they will use you. So this is why knowledge is power, and this is why I created my books. This is why I created my university, to teach you how to think, to train your mind, to master your consciousness. You don't have to go through me. There are thousands of books out there you can read and start studying this stuff. I'm just the messenger. Freemasons hide their secret symbols even within architecture. This is called the Gates of Europe inside Madrid. Now I want you to bring your attention to this monument down here for Jose Calvo Sotelo. And if we have a little look at who this person was, we see him doing a Freemasonic hand gesture called the hidden hand. So he was a Freemason. And what even confirms this is that this is the Gate of Europe, just like the gate, the entrance to the Temple of Solomon, symbolized by the two pillars, which is the two buildings and the middle pillar. So whenever you see a person standing in between two pillars on a piece of artwork, it's basically saying they are the initiate who's going into the gate, into the mystery school, into the occult school. Because these pillars represent the masculine and feminine forces of consciousness. And the person or the path in the middle is the path to enlightenment, or the path to unity consciousness. So this is why you see the initiate standing in between this gate. It's a symbolic gate into higher consciousness, or the Temple of Solomon. Water is the easiest way to cleanse yourself from negative energy. This is why when you get baptized, they dunk your head into water and they symbolically cleanse you. Because when water comes into contact with the electromagnetic field, it literally cleanses it from negative thought forms and emotional blockages. This is why when you have a shower, you not only feel physically cleaner, but you also feel emotionally and mentally cleaner. So the next time you feel like you have heavy energy around you, go and have a shower or jump in a lake. Christmas is sun worship, and the sun is related to Jesus. So if we take a look at the sun, we see that the sun moves away from the northern hemisphere towards the south, which then creates the winter in the northern hemisphere. But on December 22nd, 23rd and 24th, the sun no longer moves south. It remains in the same degree for 3 days on the Southern Crux constellation, which is the cross. The ancients saw this as the death of the sun, as the sun would not move a degree on these 3 days. This is when Jesus is in the cave for 3 days, because they saw this as the sun symbolically dying. Then on December 25th, which is Christmas Day, the sun no longer moves south, going away from the northern hemisphere. It moves 1 degree north, bringing back the longer days, the light, the warmth. So December 25th is the celebration of the rebirth of the sun, bringing back the warmth to the northern hemisphere so they could grow crops, have longer days, and bring back the summertime. It's the rebirth of light. So the sun dies on a cross for 3 days in a cave and is resurrected on the December 25th, which is all the symbol of Jesus. This is why Jesus has 12 disciples for the 12 zodiac signs, 4 gospels for the 4 seasons of the sun. So all of this is symbolic for the sun. 11 from Stranger Things is not just a character, but a code which reveals a deep truth about yourself. Take a look at her name, 11. The number 11 is highly symbolic inside of Freemasonry for the 2 Jachin and Boaz pillars. These 2 pillars represents the world outside the mind, symbolized by the sun, what you can see. The physical body is the world outside the mind, and the lunar pillar represents the world inside the mind, the person inside the mind, which is the internal self who thinks, the internal self. This is why 11 can meditate and access the upside down, symbolizing her mind can access the astral plane, the internal worlds of consciousness. She brings the knowledge from the internal world, the upside down astral plane, and brings it out into the outside world of the physical plane and uses that knowledge to navigate reality. She holds the powers of accessing the inner and outer world. That's why her name is 11. She accesses the physical plane and the astral plane. So did you know this is why we need to study symbolism? Amazon is a Mason. And what's even crazier, if you go to the image of Jeff Bezos creating Amazon, you see on his desk Amazon.com, but what's even more interesting, you have the number 33, like the 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. 33 is the number of death and rebirth, hence why it's in the triangle. The upright triangle is fire. Fire burns things down into its raw form. Then it can be transformed. So this is what the number 33 truly represents in the occult. It represents transforming yourself by destroying your old self to then to be spiritually reborn. It's all hidden in plain sight. The dollar bill symbolism shows you this. If you translate these words from Latin to English, it says announcing the birth of the New World Order. If you draw a six-pointed star above this seal, you get A-S-N-O-M. This spells the word Mason. The word Mason means to build. They're building the New World Order on the earth. This is the earth. And the New World Order is a pyramid hierarchy structure. The 10% holds the light, the truth, the knowledge, and the rest are in stone. The word mon comes from mono, which is Greek for monos, meaning single, alone, or one. EY means eye. Money literally means one eye, the one all-seeing surveillance eye. Because they want a one-world government which has surveillance. I made the mistake of trying to force awakening onto friends and family early on in my journey, and it only destroyed my connections and relationships with them. Because they alienate you, they call you crazy and a conspiracy theorist. The best thing you can do instead is to simply plant a seed with great evidence or a video if the conversation comes up into topic, and let that seed grow over time. You have to remember, people can only see reality through the lens of their belief systems, and then belief systems have been formed for years in their subconscious mind, and it's very difficult to see through them. So what you have to do is to plant the seed and let it grow in their mind over time, and they will come back to you one day more than likely and say you were right, you were correct. And then you go deeper with them. Never reveal information people's minds aren't ready for. If they ask, give it them. Knock and you shall receive. The easiest way to tell if a corporation is associated with Freemasonry is called the concept of 3 and 4. McDonald's, the M is the 3 and the square is the 4, 3 and 4. Dominoes, 1, 2, 3 dots inside of a rectangle, 4 sides. The 3 and the 4 come from the Masonic square and compass. The compass has 3 points, and the square creates a square which is the number 4. So this is 3 and 4. The Masons even put this in their architecture. The roof is a 3, which is the triangle, and your 4 pillars below. The 3 and the 4 is basically looking at the compass and the square. The universe is made of consciousness. Therefore, the true meaning of Satanism must be understood as a condition of consciousness, not a religion. The symbols of God and the devil represent different aspects of the human experience. They represent different ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving, the 3 expressions of consciousness. They are archetypes. God represents the unity of self in alignment with truth and natural law. Satan represents the breakdown of that unity. It is a state where thought, emotion, and behavior are out of harmony. It is the disconnection from love, empathy, and truth. This is not just a metaphor, it is an actual condition of mind and soul. Satanism is not a religion, it is a condition of consciousness, a way of thinking, feeling, and acting, and expressing consciousness. If you've ever watched Stranger Things, then you might have missed this scene where they show you the truth. Masons wear this apron because it originates from stonemasons. Stonemasons wore these aprons to protect themselves from any flying chips when carving stone. But in Freemasonry, this is allegorical. The stone that you are carving in Freemasonry is yourself. You are perfecting the stone. You are perfecting your mind and heart, your brain and heart. Because the stonework is taking place on the individual's consciousness to gain self-mastery and a higher consciousness. The apron is worn over the genital areas, which represents the centers and the energies that are associated with the lower self, such as eating, sexual pleasure, and power. Apron is a reminder to gain control over the lower self, hence why there is an eye placed on the apron sometimes. The eye is a symbol of being conscious, being aware. This is a Masonic reminder of the Masonic work, perfecting the self and gaining control over the lower desires and impulses, so they can climb the ladder towards higher consciousness and higher understanding of the self. Book of Symbolism is now available on Revival. The worst thing that happened to me when I stopped believing in Jesus is the fact that I was then 100% accountable for my reality. If something bad happened, I could no longer blame Satan or God for this bad thing happening in my reality. It was me, it was my responsibility to change it. The reason why I changed over is because I had a great realization one day. The mind seeks to validate everything it believes. If you believe in Jesus and you were in a car crash and survived, you would say Jesus saved you. If you believed in Allah and you were in a car crash and survived, you would say Allah saved you. Which means the only truth that remains the same is the substance of mind itself, not the belief the mind believes, if you can get your head around that. So then I realized the only truth is the substance of mind itself, not the illusion that the mind is believing. So why don't I study the substance of mind, which is then, you realize, is the substance of God, consciousness. Don't get lost in the illusions that the mind can create. Study the substance of mind itself, and that will lead you to consciousness, which is the very fabric of God. Don't you think it's strange how the word money means one eye, and there is one eye on the dollar bill, fiat currency? Because mon comes from monos, which is Greek for single, alone, or one, and EY represents eye. The word money literally means one eye, and this in Freemasonry represents the omnipresence of God, how God sees all things. Us as a collective consciousness are God, and this is how God is truly omnipresent and can see everything, because we are all individual expressions of God. However, what's crazier is that in the context of the eye being on the dollar bill, this is basically saying that money is God, which is kind of true. Because people's eyes, their attention, their time is spent on generating money their whole life. This is what their whole life depends on. This is why it's on the dollar bill, because money, fiat currency, has become the god of this world. That's why it's on the dollar bill. Only if humanity could understand what they are trying to show you here. This is what we call the Pegasus, and if you go to London, you'll see this symbol absolutely everywhere. It's such a mysterious symbol, but it reveals such a deep, powerful truth to every individual that can help your life. The Pegasus is not just a random mysterious symbol. We all know that the occult runs the world. Symbols rule the world. Symbols are everywhere. And by now you should understand that. But this symbol in the occult is very, very important. It's a ground animal, a horse, with an air animal, wings, a bird. And it's lifting off the ground. So in the occult, this represents man's liberation from base consciousness, ascending towards higher consciousness, from the ground to the sky, from a ground animal to an air animal, because the bird can fly above. It sees things from above. It sees things from a higher perspective. It sees the whole. Therefore, it's symbolic, going from the ground, which is low awareness, to higher awareness and higher perception of the self, reality, and the universe, and learning about the secrets of consciousness and the human psyche. We see this inside the devil. The devil is a ground animal, but then the angel has wings, because the wings represent higher self and the ground animal represents the lower self. So this is literally symbolic of the ascent of consciousness. There's only one verse in the Bible that has been purposely not translated so you do not figure out the powers of astrology. Yes, if you go to Job 38:32, and it says, "Canst thou bring forth the Mazzaroth in his season? Knowest thou the audience of the heavens?" This is talking about astrology. But what is the Mazzaroth? The Mazzaroth is Hebrew for 12 signs. But this is the only word in the Bible that they decided not to translate. I wonder why that is. It's because they do not want you to understand the influences of the Pleiades or the bands of Orion, the influences of the heavens. They do not want you understanding astrology, because astrology brings you power once you understand. There's a verse in the Bible that has been purposely taken out to stop you from healing from your sickness and disease. Matthew 17:21 says, "Do not go without prayer and fasting." And this is talking about being cured and regenerating the body, to give some context. But in most Bibles, it goes from Matthew 17:20, skips 21, and goes straight to Matthew 17:22. and this verse has been removed. Prayer and fasting is how you regenerate your body. But what is prayer? But if you go to Mark 11:24, it says, "Whatever ye pray and ask for, believe that ye have received them, and you shall have them." So this is talking about communicating with your subconscious mind. If you cut your skin, what happens? You get an open wound. Your subconscious mind instantly sends blood, minerals to the wound, and it instantly heals and produces a scab. Automatically. Your conscious mind does not have to do that. Your body knows how to regenerate itself. You have to pray, which is communication with your subconscious, believe that you have been healed, and fast. This is how to communicate with your subconscious and your body. Jews are so rich because they understand Cabala. So Judaism is just a religion, but on the back end of Judaism, you have what you call Cabala, just like how Christianity has Christianity, and on the back end of Christianity, you have Gnosticism. It's the mystical version of Judaism. And the Cabala pretty much teaches you the diagram and the blueprint of how consciousness creates reality. Because in Cabala, they don't teach you like Christianity, where God created the world thousands of years ago and now you are just experiencing the world. Cabala is the complete opposite. Cabala teaches you that the world is not created, but creating in the present moment. Creation is being created by God in the present moment, and you are a co-creator with that source. You are also contributing towards steering this creation into a specific agenda. So in Cabala, they teach you how to use these different forces of consciousness and how to manifest them down into Malkuth, which is earth. It's a blueprint of how consciousness turns into reality. So the reason why Jews are so rich is because they understand how the material world is created, and they desire to create material things through the teachings of Cabala.